Camera is rolling. Always feels weird starting off, doesn't it? Always feels a bit strange.
Try not to get the giggles.
Exactly. So, everyone, welcome back. This is another episode 2 of the James Hempton Show. That's what I've called it for the time being. But I'm joined today by Aisling, and the reason why I wanted to bring you on was to get kind of a female's perspective on the fitness industry. So, if you'd like to give yourself a little introduction, Aisling.
Hello. My name is Aisling Collins. I am a full-time PT and health coach. I haven't always been that, but we'll get into that. But I've been in the industry for about 2 years full-time now, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Loving life. And busy at it as well.
Yeah, very.
Flat out.
Yeah.
Tell me, Aisling, with a lot of your work, has it changed since you originally went into STPT? Is it more kind of, maybe you were previously on the floor, more online, or has online came into a bit more since you've been there?
Yeah, so I started when the first lockdown happened.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got qualified, we were straight into online. So it was very much just Zoom classes on laptops, which was miserable.
Yeah.
Watching people work out in their kitchen, it was not great.
It's a massive struggle, isn't it?
Oh my God.
Or was anyway.
I couldn't even see them half the time because they'd be on the floor.
Do you know what's so crazy? I was only thinking about this today because I was only thinking about the lockdowns. It's crazy to think they actually happened.
I know.
We so quickly forget that was once part of our life.
I know.
And now it's not.
Very weird.
Yeah, very strange.
Weird. So the first lockdown, I was a client with the gym.
Yeah.
And I did the course part-time. The owner of the gym asked me to do the course part-time. So I did that online. And
was
then Stephen, yeah. I was the client and he needed a bit of a hand. So I did that, and by the second lockdown, then I was working for them. So yeah, it started off with Zoom classes, which was weird.
No way.
And then more floor hours, and now I do some floor hours, but I'm mainly an online coach now. So I will online coach the clients that we have in the gym.
Oh,
so I don't necessarily see them on the floor because they can pick whatever times that suit them to train.
Of course, yeah.
And then I do all their check-ins and everything with them. So it's kind of a combo of the two now.
It's crazy to see the growth and expansion of STPT.
Oh, it's incredible.
Because I was there, I must have been there about 6 years ago with Jamie Smith.
Yeah.
I actually done a transformation with him back then, and what I've seen at the gym now to where it is now, they have 2 places now.
Yeah.
They've grown dramatically. It's just, I admire the growth. It's great to see. And so will they expand.
They've never slowed down. I think lockdown really gave them the kick they needed.
Yeah.
They were doing really well before that, but that was just we really need to revamp how we do things here really get the most value for the clients out of what they do. But it's working.
It definitely is.
We're known as a bit of a cult in that place. Once you join, you don't leave.
I honestly believe I think that's a cult in a good sense.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's a cult in a great sense. You're getting the best out of people.
Yeah.
And what's quite interesting, what I do admire about SCPT or Stephen and Martin, what they're doing is they're building a sense of community.
Massively.
Where kind of a lot of gyms, like, people just come and go, you know what I mean? There's no real, say for instance, people on the floor that can actually, they recognize them, they relate to them.
Yeah.
Is it all class based now?
Yeah. So it's all semi-private training. So it's essentially PT, but you're in a small group.
Brilliant.
But if you do the same times, which people do, kind of settle into a bit of a routine, you start to get to know the people that you're going to. And you'd be missed if you don't show up.
People love familiarity, don't they? You love seeing the same face come in and again, and then you recognize them and you're seeing their own growth as well.
Yeah. And
so tell me, with the online space, is there key areas that you focus on? Is attendance one, or is different elements to it?
It's
What like on a daily basis, what would you be checking in with people for?
So every week the clients will do a check-in for them like you would with any coach.
Yeah.
But I will touch base with about 60 of our clients. So I might
daily?
Run through, not daily now,
weekly.
At the moment it's weekly.
Okay.
But they have to talk about everything. So obviously food, nutrition, training, that kind of thing is one side of it. But sleep, stress management.
Interesting.
Like they're always way more important. And it's funny, like everybody comes in with the goal of fat loss, and then all of a sudden in their check-ins they're saying, I slept amazing for the first time, I don't feel as stressed, I'm not comfort eating anymore. And even things like the gym, like they come in for fat loss and then all of a sudden they're delighted that they're hitting personal bests in the gym.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's slowly you start to see that, I hit my calories today, I'm delighted with myself, and then it slowly creeps into actually I'm not even thinking about that anymore. Exactly.
You said something there, which the reason why I love doing what I'm doing now at the moment is the personal satisfaction you see in other people growing. I don't think there's any better feeling. And that kind of leads me on to the first question. It's like, how did you So where did you start off career-wise once you had left school? What kind of path did you go down? So you were in college?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so
right,
I left school, went straight into college to be a secondary school teacher. I always knew I wanted to teach people. Everybody grows up saying I want to do something that'll help people.
Yeah.
But I loved one of our teachers in school. I just thought, right, this is it. I didn't really think about teaching in any other industry because you're not exposed to it when you're younger, I suppose. So I went into teaching, did a 4-year degree, went straight into a job, got a full-time job, safe job for 40 years if I wanted it.
Yeah.
And I did it for 3 years, but in that 3 years started working in the gym part-time. And just fell in love with that. So I was working all day teaching and then waiting for the time that I could go and work the job I actually really enjoyed. So
I love that. I love the transition because it just goes to show, I suppose, look, you found something that you love to do.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And it took you to go through the course that you done, the teaching course, and to realise you're a teacher in just a different way.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah. That's all it is.
So it was the right passion, but the wrong area.
Exactly. And now you found it.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful find it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And tell me, so you said originally you started on the gym floor. It's more online based now. Actually, a question I had there, you mentioned stress management, which is quite interesting. Do you give techniques or how do you help people manage their stress better?
It's mad. Like when I started off, you kind of think you're just going to give people protein targets and step targets and stuff. And then all of a sudden you realize that you're really slowly starting to become more of a life coach. You probably have that yourself. And even
that's
the way
what
I know from your clients, like if it does become things like that. So the check-ins will start off with just about food and exercise, and then all of a sudden like that you're looking at so part of their check-in is you have to rate your stress 1 to 5, and they could have a completely clean week, perfect food, perfect training, and their stress levels are 5 out of 5. So I just ignore the rest of that. Of course. It's like, okay, what the hell's going on here? Some of them spill their heart out to you. You get very close to some people.
I'd say so. Yeah.
And others just say personal stuff, but I mean, even things like starting to journal and be a little bit more mindful, and it's something that scares a lot of people, but the very basics of it can actually make a massive difference. Like I might tell them to write out to-do lists or do a brain dump before they go to sleep. So anything that's stressing them out, they have to write it out on a note on their phone and just leave it for the next day. So it's not a problem.
That's incredible, actually.
It's just, it's a tiny thing, but it's just things that I've picked up along the way for myself that I tend to pass on to them. And then once the stress calms down, then all of a sudden they realize that their food, their energy levels,
you're changing people's lives.
Yeah. Oh, I'm learning. I'm still new to it.
No, you're learning. You're definitely learning, but you're changing people's lives through just sharing what you've experienced yourself.
Yeah.
Like such as maybe writing in a journal or doing to-do lists, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It has massive impact because when you're on a path and things are going well for you and the hobbies or routines or whatever the tasks that you're doing in the day are working out for you and they're making you a better person, they're making you feel a better way, when you can share that with someone else and start to see them improve, that's incredible. You don't realize the power of how many lives you'll change from doing that alone, which is a credit to you. You know what I mean? And is this something you were taught or is something that just kind of instinctively came to you?
I would have always said I was a helper. Like I loved giving people advice.
Yeah.
Always. It was just something I enjoyed. But
not telling people what to do.
Maybe a little bit of that as well. Might have been why I went into teaching. No, I've been bossy since I could talk.
It's
definitely.
It's a natural
instinct.
Natural trait, yeah.
But I think because I started off as a client in the gym I work in now. All of our staff actually started off as clients.
That's brilliant.
And we were all working completely different jobs. None of us started off as trainers.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of that thing of, do you know what, this has changed my life in so many ways that I want to help other people do that. And it doesn't matter who you are. Like when I went into teaching, I was like, oh, same thing, I'll change people's lives. But teaching maths, you take it or leave it, you probably will never use it again. Yeah. There's a maths teacher admitting that you will never use the algebra again.
There you go.
But it's very different when you're coaching people on how to just be happy day to day and be healthy. Yeah. And that made, when I started focusing on that, everything else in my life improved. So trying to give that to other people is
focus on your health is so important.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be extreme.
No,
it doesn't. People think that, even trainers online, like whenever I share the bad days and the days when I do eat the Dominoes and I don't do my steps, like that's when I get the most response from people going, oh my God, I can't believe, you're not perfect.
That's one thing I like about the whole STPT gig is you're all very transparent.
Yeah.
Very much so. You're just kind of, it's very much real.
It has to be. That's what people relate to. That's why people stay.
Yeah.
Because they don't think that we have this massive expectation of them that they're just not going to meet, because we don't meet it either.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Leading by example. So the next question I had, it's more of an in-depth question, but is, where do you see, would health be a missing factor in fitness at the moment? Like, a very interesting thing that you said there, dealing with stress management and sleep, and that's much more in depth than just kind of the baseline of what an online coach that I perceive it to be. You know what I mean? It's normally just a workout plan, just a meal plan, and how are people even following that? There's not much adherence to it unless you really get to know someone in depth. But going back to the question, is health a missing aspect in fitness, would you feel?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends on who you are. There's lots of different coaching styles. I think it's very easy to fall for the before and after pictures for the transformations. And although people have them in the best ways, I think, I mean, it's been drilled into us since we were tiny, and social media has made it 10 times worse, that unless you have abs and you look a certain way or a certain body fat percentage, you're not healthy. When actually that can be the most dangerous thing, particularly for females as well.
Especially females,
so a lot of clients come to me and they say, right now, this is what I want to look like, just get me there. And I'm as open and honest as I can be with them, that if they do get there, which I could do to them, but they'd be miserable, and they wouldn't be any healthier. They'd probably be more damaged than they are now. So
that's so true. That's a very kind of nuanced approach as well. It's just giving people, like, not hyping their expectations or not feeding into their expectations of how it can be. Having a more realistic kind of just perspective on things. Which I think is very important to have. I mean, is there any other areas? Would it just kind of the expectation of what people see online? Is there anything else that kind of comes to mind in terms of maybe is there a missing link kind of with health in fitness?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. People are only looking at their physical appearance as their marker for health. But they're not looking at how well they're sleeping, what their digestion is like,
how they feel,
their energy levels day to day, their happiness day to day. Like, I've had clients who tell me their relationship with their kids has completely changed once they start looking after themselves. Like, you're always told put your own oxygen mask on first, but people don't apply that to health. They just think, right, I'm a mom, I've gained some weight, I want to lose the baby fat, and they don't actually realize how much of themselves they've lost. That's so true. Other than their weight, it's nothing to do with their weight. That's so true. I've often said that you need to be selfless to be you have to be selfish to be selfless. Like, you have to prioritize yourself first, your own energy, to be a better person for the people around you. Because when that happens, when you become a better person, it's like your inner circle, all these people that are close to you, they start to feed off that energy. You know what I mean? Massively. So your own energy is key. That's a great point you made there. So always prioritize kind of yourself first before anyone else. And look, it does sound extremely selfish, but it's for good reason. It's a very good example. And when people actually start to do it, they do, and they also in the same way will notice the people around them that have maybe been sapping some of that energy from them. But like, it's life changing when you look at a full picture of your health, like emotional health, social health. All of those things are just ignored because people just think, unless that scales is coming down, I'm not getting any healthier. I think that's a great point you made there. I think what's slowly happening bit by bit, and you've touched on it here, is that there's a more holistic approach to fitness now. I feel it's heading in that direction. Now, there's certain elements that are missing, but I feel that we're becoming more in tune with, like you said, just not the physical appearance of someone. Like, they could look physically amazing but be absolutely miserable. You know what I mean? There's no that for me, that doesn't add up right. You know what I mean? I've always said to every client that's came into me, I want you to feel better about you. You know what I mean? That's the priority more than anything. It's not how you look, it's how you feel on a day-to-day basis. And then in due course, the looks come with it aneway, which is just an added bonus. You know what I mean? And you're making someone much more confident who they are. It's like their inner circle changes, and what's some of the best compliments that I've heard back is other people talking about, maybe a client that I had at the time, how they've changed dramatically. Like, for example, you just mentioned someone to me there that was with me, and it's like, to see that in someone else, to see that change is like, I don't think it's the biggest job satisfaction you can ever have. If you classify it as a job, it is a job. It's like the satisfaction of that would never compare to maybe something that you've done with teaching. You know, a kid gets a great grade in maths, but it's like, it's a tick the box though. I think what personal training is, or self-development, I would
title myself as not like a self-development coach now, and not like just a personal trainer. Because I
never say personal trainer. I say health coach. I get offended when people call me a personal trainer.
I don't think the personal trainer title has a great rap anymore.
No.
I feel it's a very saturated industry, and
I would class personal trainer as somebody who just works in a gym. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I am a personal trainer as part of my role. Yeah. But I don't just tell people to pick up weights and put them back down again. Like I look at, and most personal trainers now actually do look at everything.
They have to.
It's just, it doesn't seem like a big enough title for what we actually do.
No, I don't think it is either. Because like you said there, you're developing someone, which is so key. I mean, that's like, I don't think, and I've said this since I started doing this, that no job could compare to this.
No.
I don't believe. I don't, because it's so personal as well, you know? It's so personal. Like, you're almost building this relationship with someone else, you know what I mean? Whether it be online or in person, you know what I mean? But it's a strong bond that you create when you're helping someone succeed. You're seeing them succeed. It's like you become so proud of it.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
I do anyway.
You get emotional in the check-ins.
I know. I might start tearing up here. Yeah. But look, I think you spoke very well there in terms of where the missing links are. But it is nice to see that fitness is becoming more holistic. It's a more holistic approach now. There's so many dynamics to health that it's not just this one key area of physically looking well, but it does all correlate. I mean, once you start physically looking well, your mental health, you become more confident.
Yeah, I think people think there's a missing link. Like when I tell people, even clients, like when they start off, I'm like, right, we're just going to focus on like habit forming and stress management and sleep and stuff at the start. They're going, but I want to lose weight. It's like, you will get there. I promise I will help you lose weight as well. It's not one or the other. You don't have to, only look into other types of health or how you look. You can do both.
You mentioned something very key there, habit formation.
Yeah, that's very massive one. Oh my God. People are expecting me to tell them how many calories to be eating and grams of protein and right, I'm going to do 5 gym sessions a week. And I'm like, you haven't been to a gym in 2 years and you want to tell yourself you're going to go 6 days a week, like you need to focus on the basics first.
People just fall off a cliff then.
Massively. They'll do it for 2 weeks and then that's it.
Like. Change is so difficult. To change is so hard because we're hardwired just to repeat the same habits that we've done the day before.
Yeah.
So for anyone to change, it has to be like, it's so minute, you know what I mean? It's the smallest thing. Could be turn up to the gym once a week and then you just build on that and you build on that habit of actually going to the gym. But it has to start really small.
No, we're an impatient generation though.
We're so impatient. I think we're all very impatient. But I think people always think that change is always drastic. Change is, I feel, very gradual. It just happens kind of over time. It's not something that just all of a sudden just happens, you know what I mean? And especially habit formation, that's a really interesting one. Did you do a course on this side of personal training?
Not at all. So my qualification was literally... Have you 6 weeks online and you just get sent. I went in for the assessment in person on the last day. And that was it. But the learning really is from talking to people and coaching people, and obviously having coaches myself helped massively.
It's experience.
Because I gathered information from them. Yeah. And I've had a few different trainers and coaches and business mentors and all over the years. But
that's a great point. I think the more you get into it, the more you want to learn. So the more you kind of seek these people that are in maybe a greater position than you, and then you'll go seek what they've done for yourself, you know what I mean? Yeah. If someone's truly passionate about something, then they'll never want to stop learning, you know what I mean? They'll be seeking all these other people. Like, just even, because we only met back in, I think it was January, they'd ran an event, the two lads, Martin and Stephen, in, I think it was the Radisson Hotel, you know what I mean? And just even surround yourself by people that are in there and seeking other mentors and just going to these, like you're shown you're willing to learn, you're enthusiastic about like developing your own knowledge. Yeah. But I think that's so important because I often find, just from my own experience of like being in gyms and seeing people in gyms, they get the qualification and then they don't pursue anything else with it. It's like, you're not really truly passionate about this, you know what I mean? People kind of just go through, and I don't like it's like, it's not a nice thing to see, but it's great to be sitting across from someone that is truly passionate about it, and you're seeking more and more after being qualified. Yeah. Which I think is so important, just to develop your skill. As, like you said, one key aspect as well is just exposure. Like you being on the gym floor. Yeah. How much you learn from just small little interactions between different people as well.
But it's the same with the clients. Like I would say exactly the same thing to them. If you want to learn more about health and fitness, like you need to surround yourself with that. So that's part of the reason why our gym is very much about community, because people are going in and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then all of a sudden they get chatting to the person beside them and they only started 2 weeks ago, and here's some tips that I've gathered, and like, it's amazing. But you are who you surround yourself with, like, so if you're in the right environment, there's no stopping you, really.
100%. Sorry, I just had to check the camera because they will turn off after 20 minutes. But you're dead right. I have another question for you. I know quite a while ago you done a photo shoot. Is that something you still do in the gym?
So the ones we do in the gym are for clients, but it's not really run the same way as what we did.
It's changed, has it?
Yeah.
Because they can be quite drastic and they can take a great toll on the body.
Yeah.
Did you experience anything like that?
Yeah. There was a trend last year, the year before, and it just kind of rocked the fitness world. Yeah. Then every personal trainer
has it slided off?
I think there's a little bit more of a bad rep with them now.
Interesting.
But it kind of became this thing that if you didn't do it as a PT, you weren't walking the walk. Yeah. So we decided as a staff that we'd all do one. And we were like, right, now we're going to do this properly. Yeah. We're going to get down to lean as we possibly can. We're going to cover ourselves in tan and baby oil. We're going to take the photos. And we'll just show people that, we can do it. Very quickly we realized that it was a terrible idea. What we did was it wasn't a long enough time. I had just started with a coach and I told him I wanted to lose a little bit of body fat and then go into a gaining phase, and then all of a sudden he mentioned this photo shoot to me and I was like, right, let's do it. But the time frame was just way too small. So for what the targets we had set ourselves as a staff, like, we wanted to look good. We wanted everybody to look lean and impressive, and like, we wanted people to think, I want to go to them, like they're all doing it.
You want to walk the walk
as a group, but
and lead by example.
But the behind the scenes of that was really tough. Like, we were getting complaints from clients towards the end that we were all miserable, that we'd no energy, that our classes were our brain function went down, so our check-in quality was crap, our classes were crap. It was just...
And what was that due to? Just the depletion of calories?
Massively, yeah. So for me, like, I'm a small female anyway, but the calories that I had to go to, like, I was just... It was crazy. Really? And I didn't even tell my own clients what I was on, because I would never put them on the calories that I was on. To try and get to where I needed to be, but like, it just destroyed us. Totally destroyed us.
And how long did it go on for?
I did it for, I think it was about 17 weeks.
Very good. Jesus,
so it was
17 weeks.
Yeah, it was July to November.
Wow.
And there was, I think I had 2 days where I went over my calories in that time.
That's crazy. That's such a...
it was very extreme. This wasn't a like balanced, have your fun on the weekends or have your treats every day. Like, this was yeah. And I kind of had never done anything that extreme. Yeah. I'd lost a bit of weight, gained it back, lost a bit of weight, gained it back. So I was like, no, for once I'm going to get to where I want to be. But I didn't realize how tough it was going to be.
How did you deal with a post photo shoot?
I would love. So the plan was that I'd get as small as I could, and then
because your body
reverse out. Yeah,
it must find it very hard to go back to what it was doing before.
Oh, absolutely. Even the day of the photo shoot, when we went out for dinner, we were all expecting to go out and have burgers and desserts and everything, and like 2 or 3 bites into the meal, we were all sick as dogs because we hadn't eaten anything like that for months.
Oh my God.
And so obviously then you're depriving yourself of stuff for so long. With the calories I was on, there was very little kind of indulgent food that I could fit into those. So what I wanted to be a nice reverse out, slowly increase my food, really controlled, was just a disaster. Like, I just couldn't. I wanted everything around me all the time. Friends and family were throwing food and drink at me because I hadn't had anything like that for months. And we just kept saying, once the photo shoot's over now, I'll have a great Christmas and I'll do all that.
And did you have a great Christmas?
I did. I had an amazing Christmas, but the weight went back on me very quickly. And actually, I'm now out the other side of that. So I am now heavier than I was before I started the photo shoot prep. Good bit heavier. But because I couldn't. It is in a healthy way, but at the same time, that came from 6 months of very strong restriction to then not being able to hold back at all.
Was this only November of last year?
Yeah. So from January to now, I kind of started backtracking and trying to lose a bit of weight again, and I just thought, you know what, can't do this anymore.
It's not something you recommend.
It depends on the person. I've seen people who really just love the process, even bodybuilding. Like, there's people who absolutely adore it.
Of course,
females who think it's amazing. They're not massively emotionally connected with food or anything, so it doesn't really bother them that much. But for the majority of people, it's not something I recommend.
Is there any traits that you took from it that, like, in terms of being so disciplined with your food and everything else that goes with it, is there any traits that you took from doing the photo shoot that you still have now?
Yeah, I mean, I would have said I was always a massive foodie and I would struggle to say no to food. But after 6 months of saying no to all the things I would have said I was massively addicted to, sugar and even drinks and stuff. I didn't have a sip of alcohol for 6 months and it didn't bother me at all.
That's brilliant. So how did that make you feel? Or in terms of how, I suppose there's so much going on with the depletion of calories. Did you actually notice any difference when you went off alcohol? Even in a social sense?
I think when you go out and you don't drink, you really notice how little you're missing. Do you know what I mean? I would have, and even now, that's one thing that stuck with me. I very rarely drink anymore. I didn't drink a whole lot before. Yeah. But do
you feel like more people are
I just couldn't be arsed. Yeah. When you actually give yourself the chance to cut it out completely for a long time, you'll realize that you're just not missing that much when you don't drink. You'll go out with your friends and it's the same conversations over and over again. And even the nightclubs, once it gets past 11, 12, like, I was so happy to go home to bed. And I still do that now. I'll go out and have 2 or 3 drinks and then I'm home at 12 o'clock.
And would you have many friends around you that would think in a similar sense?
Well, anybody that I work with now wouldn't be big drinkers, and my own friends are not really big drinkers either. Now we love a drink the odd time, but of course. No, I've never had friends that were.
That's interesting. I think from just talking to many people now, I think the age that we're at, that more and more people are slowly coming away from drink. Yeah. Like, I just feel it takes so much from you. I mean, like, for instance, someone that's in the gym or trying to progress, if you're going out the weekend and you're up all night Saturday doing whatever, drinking and whatever goes with it, then your Sunday is gone. Monday, your energy's still low. Tuesday, you're just about coming around. So it has a massive knock-on effect to your entire week. Yeah. That it's very hard if you want to be healthy and make progress in the gym or try and develop better habits, because it's not going to happen if your sleep's off. Yeah. If you've been drinking. But it's quite interesting. I think we live in a country where the social scene is all revolved around drink.
Yeah. Well, that depends on who you are. Yeah, so I would have thought that. That's a good point. But now, most of my socializing is meeting people for walks, coffee, lunches.
Oh, that's brilliant.
I go and do gym sessions with people. I was only talking about this recently. Like, I've made so many friends from just texting people on Instagram that are also either just love the gym or are PTs themselves. And it's like, do you want to go and do a gym session together? Or
I love that.
Meet up and go for a walk. So I've met loads of people that way.
Interesting.
By just finding people that I knew had the same interests and socializing that way, instead
you make a great point.
Going out to the pub with the same people that I would have from.
Just seeking people that are very like yourself.
Yeah. They're there. I think people think they're not, but they are there.
They're there. My camera just went off, so I'm gonna flick it back on. Just 2 seconds. Sorry. Like I was saying, that's such an interesting perspective. So your kind of how you socialize now is different.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important. And just even reaching out to people. I suppose this kind of happened. Actually, shout out to Brian Foley because it's his suggestion, and it's kind of got me on this role of, why not just speak to as many people as you can? And it's so easy nowadays to reach out to people that are like-minded, because Instagram is just a portfolio of who you are, and people can kind of see, such as your own page.
Absolutely, yeah.
I love also, do you get much media training? Because a lot of you guys that I see that work for STPT, very confident behind the camera, and I think it's one of the greatest skills nowadays that anyone can have, is to actually speak behind a camera. Because it's a very weird experience.
Very weird.
Very strange. I actually don't do a lot of myself. Like, obviously, the whole podcast format's different because the camera's not in front of me, you know what I mean? But to speak behind a camera and to know that an audience will watch it, how does that normally make you feel?
I think the first time, I remember, like, when I started working in the gym, Stephen straight away was on to me and he was like, get onto your phone, get onto your stories. And I was thinking, if people who know me from when I was younger see me talking to myself, they're going to be like, who does she think she is? But actually, the first time I did it, 3 or 4 people like that I haven't talked to since primary school wrote to me and they're like, this is great, like, it's so good to see you, and you seem like you're doing really well. And it's just, once you get that positive feedback once or twice, you're like, actually, I watch people do this every day and I don't think it's weird, so why do I think people will think the same as me? And even talking to my stories now, I don't pay attention to the fact that there could be 1,000 people watching that. You just forget because you're in your living room or you're in the gym talking to yourself.
That's impressive. Do 1,000 views?
Sometimes, depends. If I'm consistent enough, yeah.
That's incredible. Well, not the 1,000 views. What I'm more fascinated by and admire that you do is even speaking to the camera. Like that's it. Like I said, but it builds your confidence as well.
Yeah.
It dramatically builds your confidence, and then people can relate to you much more.
Massively.
And you made a good point there. Like you watch people do it. So why can't you do it? It's like it makes so much sense. Just if you're able to speak and speak well, and what also happens is that you actually over time you become better at speaking.
Yeah.
Because you do it on a consistent basis.
Oh, I couldn't care less now. But the first few times I did it, I had to make sure that nobody could hear me.
Yeah.
And I'd rewatch it like 40 times, and now I could be in my pajamas first thing in the morning, and something occurs to me, and I just throw it up.
Brilliant.
But the interaction then, like I have people who talk to me on Instagram all the time now, and I'll meet them in person for the first time, and they know everything about me. They know what I had for breakfast. It's very my dog, my family, the gym.
Have you ever got anyone younger walking up to you and saying hello or
no,
recognizing?
That hasn't happened yet. So, but I have had other people tell me that they were talking about me, if you know what I mean. People I didn't know, and I like that has never happened to me when I was younger either. Like my own personal Instagram wouldn't have had a big following or anything at all. So it's weird. It is weird.
It's very strange. It happened to me once not so long ago. It was the Flavors of Fingal, and this young guy about 16 walked up to me and said hello. He said my old Instagram name, which used to be Hempton's Health. Okay. And it completely started. I mean, it probably happened to you at some stage as well, because
I'd say people probably recognize me but don't say anything, which I'm glad of, because I don't know. I would always say hello, but I know it. It hasn't happened to me yet. I haven't reached that level of fame yet.
No, I'm not saying that I have either. But this young guy, lovely fella, walked up to me and goes, "Oh, Hempton's Health," and I was so taken back. I kind of for a second froze, because when something like this happens, you're startled, because you're like, how does he know me? Yeah, he's saying a name. Like I said, it could happen to you one day, and it's a very strange feeling, because like you said, people recognize you, and people actually pick up on everything that you put up, especially if they watch you often, and they're seeing things almost that you don't see yourself. Because there's once or twice, even the group of lads that I would train quite often see things on my stories that I have not seen before. It's like people are having this other perspective on your own life, which is it's very much like it's an in-depth kind of observation of who you are. Yeah. And their feedback to you, it's just bizarre.
I know. It's weird, because to me it's just putting up myself. Yeah. But then on the business side of things, I might have somebody who will write to me one day and they're like, I've been following you for a year. You put up a post about 6 months ago about this and it really resonated with me, and I'm going, oh my God, like I don't know who this person is.
There you go.
They know everything about me, and they like my personality. I mean, you're selling your personality really as a coach.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So it's cool. It's cool to be able to just be yourself and then make money off it.
I was gonna say, you said that well. Just you're being authentic. You're just being who you are. You're not trying to. That's what I like, and that's what I kind of resonate a lot just from watching your own stories and just seeing your page. Is that like, you're not playing, you're not acting. You know what I mean? You're not putting on an act. You're just being who you are in the moment. And people relate to that so much more than, because people see through things. People are very clever. You know what I mean? If you're putting on this persona of who you were and trying to be something that you're not, people are like, I can see through this fella. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then people, obviously, they normally kind of shift away because they're too smart for it. Anyway, I'll move on to the last point I had. I actually have one more question that popped into my mind there. But so talking about psychology a small bit. How is there a technique, or is there something that you use or maybe do to help change the mindset of a client that you have that comes into you originally? This is kind of going back to kind of all client based once again.
There's a couple of things. I think when they start off, if you try and throw all of that at somebody who like that has come in and said, I want to lose 2 stone, they are going to take their money and run the other way, because what they want is weight loss. Yeah. I tend to kind of give them small tasks to start off with. And like that, it could be getting to bed earlier than normal. It could be, making your own breakfast before making the kids breakfast. Something small, but that they have to do regularly. And I just kind of dot them in. And then when they start to mention those in their check-ins and they're saying, actually, that worked really well, or like that, I'm starting to feel more energy than I have before, or I'm feeling happier day to day, that's when I'll point it out. I'm like, that's why you're really here.
There you go.
Do you know what I mean? It's like that. Yeah. This is what we've been building on. So I'll get them to build the habits, but not really go into the detail on why. And then they figure it out themselves after a while. They go, oh my God, like they could do an entire check-in and not mention their scales or anything like that. And I'm going, look at what you just told me was your big win for the week. It had nothing to do with your weight.
There you go. Yeah.
And I mean, when they're having weeks where they feel like everything's gone up in the air, I'll just point out all the things that went really well for them and why they're doing this. I think their why is really important.
Yeah.
You know, why are you actually here? Like, is it to lose weight, or is it to be able to feel good in yourself and feel confident?
Well, you're getting to the root cause of like why they're showing up to yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's so powerful. You keep mentioning, I do love it, is habits, because whatever it may be, if you want to get successful in the sense of losing weight or whatever it may be, it's like dial in your habits, because your habits are what's going to lead to the outcome of what you hope to happen, what you perceive that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's very interesting to hear, because I haven't heard many people talk about it before, or just even in the kind of sphere of health and fitness. But it is so important. It's like, is there any habits that kind of spring to mind that you would advise your clients to get better at?
Oh my God, there's so many.
Yeah. If there was one area.
Planning ahead, and just with food and with the days that they're going to exercise. So, I mean, morning routine is, I know, something you're big into as well. But if you pre-book the days that you're going to the gym, if you pre-decide what your meals are going to be for the week before you do the food shop, if you have all of that prepped, it's just about doing. I think people wait for this massive motivation and this inspiration to land on them.
Great
point.
It
doesn't.
Yeah,
I'm not motivated I don't wake up in the morning and go, I just cannot wait to go to the gym today. I wake up in the morning and go, I'm booked into the gym for 9 o'clock. So I'm going to go to the gym at 9 o'clock. Yeah. And when I leave the gym, I'm delighted with myself.
That's so important. I think having a schedule.
Yeah.
And is like, for your clients, is the schedule kind of laid out for them, or can they see it, or is it just, would it be like on their phone, or where would it normally be?
It's completely different for person to person. Okay. So, again, the difference between somebody who is working a part-time job and in college is going to be very different to a mom of 3 who is running around after kids. So the one thing I would say is, I don't give anybody a strict schedule, because I find that the second they fall down on that, they've given up.
Of course, yeah.
And it's just like, I'll start again on Monday kind of mindset. So it's here's the things I want you to try and fit into your day, but if that doesn't happen, you're just going to do it again the next day.
Exactly. Just come back the next day, yeah. And come back with a better approach. Sorry, my question was like, how would you not schedule their week, but how would you kind of make them see their week? Is it like is it a calendar that they have in front, or a planner they have in front of them, or is it something they see, or is they just know?
No, I wouldn't give them one.
No.
But it depends on the person. They have to set it themselves.
Of course.
So whatever way they want to do that, I usually...
Do you use any formats? Is there any formats you use?
No, I don't, because it depends on the person.
Oh, okay.
I think that's one thing I've learned about online coaching, is that every individual person has different needs. So some people love that exact, right, I want you to go to the gym in the mornings at 6:30 a.m. 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And for other people, it's just... You know, when you can have a babysitter, you're going to go to the gym.
Of course, it's different.
But even in the way of things being laid out, one person needs, okay, here is your tick the box. You're going to do every single thing every day that I give you. And other people, it's okay, you set your own targets for the day.
It's brilliant.
Because it's great. Like, I coach people who are aiming for really specific physique goals, and then people who just want to get to the gym twice a week and eat a bit more veg.
And
like, it's such so when you get to know that many people, I would say I don't have a coaching style specifically, because it completely changes depending on who I'm coaching.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Kind of has to, though.
It always does. Yeah, you have to cater for the client.
Yeah.
It can't
but
be
it keeps it interesting for you too.
It does.
If I just apply the same thing to everybody, it'll work great for some people, but other people will just be up and gone. Yeah.
Fall off.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. Would you say your own habits are quite dialed in, and planning and everything else that goes with it?
I'd like to think so. No.
Well, to be in a position where you're coaching other people to do it, you must be doing something right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I try not to be hypocritical in that sense, but I mean, I went from working a job where every minute of every day was planned out for me.
Yeah. When
I went to the bathroom, when I ate, everything was fully
scheduled.
Tick the box for me.
Yeah.
To being completely on my own time. So it took a while, but I'm a good example of somebody who had to create an entire timetable for themselves in the week.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of flexibility in there. It's nice when you work on your own time, and
there is a bit of freedom.
It's nice to have the freedom, but I have to. If I don't have those daily habits, then
you lose yourself.
Yeah.
I think having a plan for the day, or just having habits, it gives you such structure for your day. you don't get lost. You know, if you wake up in the morning, you're like, I don't know if I'll go to the gym, or I don't know if I'll.
But you won't do it. If you give yourself that option, you most likely won't do the thing you should do.
Exactly. Where if you have a plan and you can see it in place, the one thing I like to use and I do promote to the clients that I have is like even something as simple as like a Google Calendar. So you can just see kind of maybe you might not go to the gym at 6 in the evening, but you can always if it's just there placed on the day. It may not be 6 in the evening. It might be 8 o'clock at night, whatever time it is. At least if you can see it there, you're more likely to do it.
That's what I mean. You book in these things with yourself.
You booked them in, you know, and then it's like you wake up in the morning, you're not thinking, because I think a lot of people suffer nowadays from like decision fatigue. It's like thinking about what am I going to do next? What am I going to do today? If it's just you set it out a week in advance, you sit on a Sunday, plan your week or however many days, maybe the night before, plan your day, things go so much smoother because you're waking up in the morning going, like you said, that class at 9 is booked in. I'm going to be there. Yeah. And that's how it is.
It's the same with food. If you have it written out, right, I know I'm having overnight oats every night this week. You make it. It's there in the fridge. You don't have to make that decision.
Exactly.
Poor food choices are made when you leave the decision till you're starving.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I do that as well. So yeah, decision fatigue is a massive thing that people don't really understand.
They don't.
So you just have to take that decision away from yourself.
Minimize all these things. You know what I mean? Make your life a bit easier for yourself by just having more structure.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all it is. I've one last question, Aisling. I don't know if you touched on it. I think you may have mentioned it. You may have mentioned when you mentioned stress management a small bit. We've mentioned all aspects of health, but there's an area of health that I'm quite interested in, and it's spiritual health.
Yeah.
Is there any practices you do or kind of promote? I don't know if you did mention. Did you mention something about breathing exercise earlier on? Or did
I look. I'm trying to get into that world a little bit more now. Slowly.
Yeah.
I would struggle with things like meditate. Just my brain goes 1,000 miles an hour, but that's exactly why I need to start doing things like that.
Yeah.
But even journaling and starting to have that little bit more self-awareness.
Journaling. That's what I meant. That's what brought it up. Journaling. That's quite interesting because having your thoughts on a page, decluttering your mind is powerful.
It's huge, and I am not somebody who does the whole 5 a.m. right, I'm going to journal, I have all these prompts, I have a special thing, and then I go and do yoga. I am a bit scattered with that stuff still. I'm still learning how to put structure onto that kind of thing. But on the days that I'm really stressed or there's 50 things on my mind, just getting it all out on a page. And actually even sometimes when you're writing it out, it just, you realize as you're writing it that it's not anything to be worried about.
No, you start figuring out as well.
Yeah, and even yoga and things like that, like they are incredible. If you can find one thing that you think helps you in the spiritual sense, it makes a massive difference to your life.
Do you do any kind of mind-body practices such as yoga? Is stretching any part of what you do at STPT, or is it just focused around exercise? Not really. Like we'd be mainly stretching. Now obviously we make sure that mobility practices and stuff are there for injury purposes. Yeah. But we would massively encourage it with people who do need that little bit of stress management. I think that's where it would mainly come in. Yeah. But again, I'm only starting to learn a little bit more about that, so I'm bringing it into my coaching slowly. Very nice. But it's somewhere that I definitely need to do a little bit more research on. I love it. I love hearing that, but I think with all aspects of health, and like we talked about, it is heading in a better direction, I feel.
Yeah. There's still a little bit of stigma there around the spiritual side of things.
100%, yeah.
And I'd be one of them. I'm like, I'm very, like, I'm a science teacher. I'm very much about, you know, the facts and the figures. But
self-awareness is key, especially when you're trying to change someone as well. And I think that,
and if you're open-minded to these things, it makes a huge difference.
It definitely does. It definitely does. Aisling, it's been a lovely conversation. Yeah. I've enjoyed it. It's flowed very well.
I know.
I love your honesty. I love how authentic you are. And just keep doing what you're doing, because it seems to be going well. No problem. Thank you very much. Cheers. Happy days. I haven't a clue how long that was.
No idea.